Looks like we're gonna have to travel the last stretch with the windows down.
After the adrenaline rush of Ahsoka Tano's debut in Chapter 13, you'll be forgiven for expecting Chapter 14 to be another side quest that would delay Mando and Grogu's arrival on Tython until the penultimate episode of the season, but Dank Ferrick did this episode surprise us in all the right ways. Just as the Jedi delivered deep-cut lore, intriguing backstory, and thrilling action, the tragedy doubled down on that formula and turned things up to 11. Aided by the dynamic direction of Robert Rodriguez, who's no stranger to helming epic Western gunfights fought beside unlikely allies, even if the episode had settled for simply being a team-up between Mando, Boba Fett, and the resurrected Fennec Shand, now sporting some cybernetic innards to make up for being shot by that punk Toro Calican, who we will never speak of again, it still would have been pretty badass since the entire sequence delivered the most creative and well-executed action we've seen on the show so far. The glorious moment when Boba Fett returned in his iconic, if battered, armor to take out basically an entire squad of stormtroopers was worth the price of admission alone, enough to redeem the bounty hunter's disappointing exit in Return of the Jedi. The whole thing was so deeply nerdy that we're even willing to forgive the slight logic gap that Boba Fett would have even allowed the far less threatening Cobb Vanth to hold on to his armor all this time and instead waited for a clearly deadly Mandalorian to take it halfway across the galaxy before he tried to get it back. Star Wars has plenty of those kind of plot contrivances that can be waved away for the sake of a cool moment after all. This episode did more to cement Boba Fett's lethal reputation than any of the movies and still managed to find time to offer some official canon backstory for Boba and Jango Fett, establishing Jango as a Mandalorian foundling just like Din Djarin, one who even fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars. Will this finally settle the endless debates about whether Boba Fett and Jango are really Mandalorian? This is Star Wars, so probably not, but the show makes it pretty clear. The script managed to echo two iconic Star Wars quotes in Boba's introduction. Jango Fett's, "I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe," and Luke Skywalker's, "I'm a Jedi like my father before me," effortlessly evoking the spirit of the franchise and encapsulating the character in one simple line. Despite being mercenaries, it's refreshing that the episode also went out of its way to emphasize that Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are ultimately honorable warriors even when it comes to the expense of their own safety.
Judy has returned to you safely. We are in your debt.
Which goes back to something that Dave Filoni explored with a young Boba way back in the Clone Wars, when Hondo encouraged him to act honorably because it was what his father would have done. The prospect of Mando, Boba, and Fennec teaming up to rescue Baby Yoda from Moff Gideon and his Dark Troopers is an exciting one after the fireworks of this episode, especially with Bill Burr's Mayfield also in the mix. If the show can keep up the momentum established by episode 5 and 6, we're in for a truly epic season 2 finale, particularly if Grogu actually did manage to reach another Jedi who might be willing to help him while he was communicating with the Force on Tython, paging Ezra Bridger. And before we go, we should pay tribute to a fallen comrade. Rest in peace, Razor Crest. Now your watch has ended. The bucket of bolts withstood a lot over 2 short seasons. And still, seeing the epic return of Slave One almost made up for it. Amazingly exceeding the action and satisfaction of the previous episode, Chapter 14 is an explosive and thrilling joyride that shines a spotlight on Boba Fett in a way that fans of the character have likely been dreaming of for decades. If you want even more on The Mandalorian, then why not check out our previous review or an episode of Canon Fodder.